I still think design has a huge impact on the quality of the city. We were told that when you do a house or you do a building, you're building the city. So I think there's a huge opportunity now to decide as a city who we want to be, like who does this city and this area want to be. And that's going to hopefully inform the built environment in the next few years.
I am here today with Andreas Villaveses at Metrica Architecture Firm. And I've known Andres for many years, and I wanted to bring him on here and introduce him to my friends, you guys, and kind of talk about architecture. So, Andres, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. I love that you're able to come join us and tell us about all things architecture.
Thank you, Alina, for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I mean, first and foremost, I want to know, well, not only myself, but everyone else would want to know, how did you even get started in architecture? What inspired you to be an architect?
Well, it sounds like a cliche, but my father was an engineer and my mom was an artist. And they were in the process of designing a house for them. And I would come downstairs late at night and they would be like poring over the plans. And there was something really fascinating about it. A few years later, when I was about to get into college, there was also that creative and tactile aspect of drawing and actually creating, which is a little bit different from other professions like biology or something like that. That really kind of drew me to that.
That's exciting. And so you are from Colombia and you guys moved over here. So tell us more about your firm, what you guys do. You know, you spread your knowledge all over the world. Tell us more.
Thank you. So, yes, we started the office in 2014, and we've been international since day one. We were in an apartment in Abu Dhabi in the UAE.
Okay.
But I went to school at UW, so I knew I liked the city. I had some network. So decided to locate the office here. So I have staff in Bogota, in Colombia. Most of my staff is there. We have some international staff as well. We have a person in Miami, a person in Peru.
Perfect. So if you guys need any services, you know that you can be covered.
And I'm here. I'm in Bellevue. Okay. I've been in Seattle and Bellevue in the last few years. And we've been remote since we started. So when the pandemic hit, it was, in a way, it was actually good for us because we had already been working remotely. And all of a sudden, clients were willing to work remotely as well. So it's been an interesting approach, but one that has worked well so far.
That's amazing. And I know for a fact that you've done so many projects here. What is your favorite project here in Washington that you've done?
Oh, favorite project. Every project is different. We just finished a few months ago a house in Issaquah. And we're really happy with it. It's a house built for entertaining. It's got a huge deck, and it's up in the mountains, and we raised the entire social area to the upper level so you could be at the level with the trees.
Oh my gosh.
And it's great because I became good friends with the owner. So we've been actually going there for dinner a couple times. And it's
amazing to sit in your own project. Like, what?
No, it's been really good to just go there and enjoy it. Yeah.
So I remember you told me that you've done some projects in Australia. You did an airport?
Yes.
Tell us more, because this is pretty cool.
That was our first job.
Oh my gosh.
We were hired to create the layout for emergency landing strip. This is in a island called Kulin Island off the coast of Australia, in Western Australia. And that small project evolved into a full airport with a 1,800-meter landing airstrip. And it was sized for, if I remember correctly, Boeing 787.
Oh my goodness!
So we spent like a couple of years working on that, and at the end there were some issues. There was a big retaining seawall that was containing. This was a mine. They were mining iron ore. The mine was gonna expire in 2019, and then they wanted to build the airport there. And there was a big seawall built in the island. That seawall collapsed. Okay. So that kind of threw the entire project in disarray. Unfortunately,
that's not fun. Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's interesting. I mean, you never know what happens, right?
Yeah.
What is your specialty as far as architecture goes? So I know that, I mean, obviously every architecture firm specializes in something, what is your favorite design specialty that you can offer to clients?
So our focus right now is single-family homes and major remodels in the Bellevue, Kirkland, East Side area, with some focus on Seattle. We do other types of work. We do some commercial renovations. We do some multifamily, and we do some international work as well. But most of our work is focused at providing single-family custom home design and renovation. Yeah.
Well, I've personally referred you out to a very close friend of mine. Do you want to share a little bit about that design? Because how cool it is! It's facing the water, and
it's been a wild ride. It's such a great house. The clients are fantastic, but it's been a challenging project because it is facing the water, but is in a neighborhood that has very specific covenants to protect views of neighbors, and it requires approval of
HOA.
the community and the neighbors. And it's been a challenging and lengthy process, but it's moving forward, and the house is going to be finished. I think November is when it's going to be complete.
I cannot wait to see it.
I have to take it. It's turning out great. I'm very happy with it.
I love it. And obviously, you've lived here for a long time. You've lived, going to UW in the past. You've kind of familiarized yourself with our landscape. Like, where do you see our Pacific Northwest architecture evolving?
There's going to be a lot more density. Seattle used to be a city of houses. When I lived here for school, it was a city of houses. Now it's a city of buildings. There's, of course, a huge need for affordable housing. So that's going to push the production of a lot of multifamily projects. So I'm hoping that what we see in the next few years is an architecture that is from this time and this place, that is representing this region and that is quality, right? So I hope we get
fast-paced buildings,
and understanding that development needs to be fast-paced, it needs to be affordable, it needs to occur. I still think design has a huge impact on the quality of the city. We were told that when you do a house or you do a building, you're building the city. So I think there's a huge opportunity now to decide as a city who we want to be. Like who does this city and this area want to be, and that's gonna hopefully inform the built environment in the next few years.
And just taking into account sustainability, right? Green building and all of that. I believe we're leading in the country as far as being sustainable, using the proper materials, right? So I think we're already evolving. I think we're ahead.
I agree with you. This region in particular is kind of an epicenter for mass timber construction, which is evolving very quickly. This region is also experiencing firsthand the consequences of climate change, the initial consequences with the smoke every year and increased temperatures. So we're seeing more and more something that we didn't have to do here before, which was air conditioning systems better performing houses. So I think that goes hand in hand. And I don't think sustainability, it gets thrown out, the term gets thrown out around a lot, and it shouldn't be a feature. It should be a given, right?
Yes.
So, but yes, I agree.
That's part of the process already.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But talking about our area and the process of actually building a house, I'm sure I have questions like that. I know the process, but a lot of my friends and clients who watching, they might not know. Can you tell us from the start of the moment that a person finds that house, we buy it, and they decide to, let's say, tear it down and go with the process of rebuilding? Tell us step by step, what happens?
So this is a typical project, of course, and every project may vary, but a good rule of thumb, you can expect about 2 years plus or minus from the day you start design until you move in, right? And that you can divide that into the first year you get design and permits, and you can imagine 6 months for design, about 6 months for permits. That could be less, could be a little bit more.
Could be more in some cities, right?
It could be. It could definitely be more.
Yeah.
And then about a year for construction. It could be up to 2 years for construction. So it depends on the scope and the challenge, like how challenging the project is. But every project kind of follows the same steps. You have site investigation, so you understand what can be done on the site. You understand what the zoning allows you to do. You understand if you have an HOA, like what are the requirements of that HOA. You kind of get the lay of the land and understand what can be and what cannot be done. And based on that, you can come up with a vision or a concept, right? After you have that concept and you get your clients buy-in and you all agree on that, then you move on to what we call the schematic design, which is like kind of the full vision and scope of the house without much detail. You understand how many rooms, how big it is, what is it going to look like.
What's the flow of the floor plan, everything, right?
Yes, exactly. How is it organized? What are the big strategic moves that you're going to make at the beginning of the project? How are you going to orient the garage and where you're going to put the yard and like the big decisions. And once that is done, you move into an engineering phase where you bring in consultants, structural engineers, mechanical engineers, and they work over that plan. And you all together refine that, and then you go to permit submission.
Okay.
Once you go into permit submission, there's two things that happen. The city starts processing the permit. They start reviewing the drawings. They send you corrections. You send them back. And in parallel, we do interior design. So you start choosing floors and plumbing fixtures and countertop materials and light fixtures. You start to go room by room and you choose everything in a way that, the way I explain this to clients is, you want to have a coherent narrative that supports the design, because it's very easy to just pick ideas from a magazine and end up with a Frankenstein
I know.
of things.
That might look good in a magazine, but maybe not in this particular layout or,
No, exactly. So by the time you finish interior design, your permit should be about ready. Like those two kind of go at the same time. And by that time, you have you've been probably working with a builder at that point. You already have a budget, and by the time the permit is ready, you can break ground and start construction. So that's kind of the same steps that every project follows, with some variations, of course.
Of course, no, I understand. What is the fastest time that it took you the project from start to finish?
We designed a house. In 6 weeks, we submitted to permit in Clyde Hill, and it was permitted in 3 weeks.
Wow!
So that was the fastest one. That was.
Now, how long did it take them to build the house?
About a year.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an outlier. That's not.
What's the longest?
Oh, the longest. Maybe I shouldn't say. No, maybe.
But it's not all in your hands. There's city involvement, right? Permitting, all these things that are out of your control, right?
No, and there's houses that, I mean, if you have a steep lot or if you're near a stream or a wetland, that could take. I mean, we did a project with wetlands in Kirkland. It took, I think, over 2 years because they had to be enough mitigation baked into the plans, and there was a big process of approval for the wetlands. So projects like that, they take
No, of
long.
course, yeah. You can't have perfect everything, right? What about if you could advise my friends and my clients, what would be the best advice you can give them about building a house and architecture of it?
Trust the process. You have to trust the process.
That's very important. Yeah.
You have to be able to make decisions.
Fast.
Well, not necessarily fast
in a timely manner.
But don't second guess your decisions, because a lot of times I see my clients making a decision in April and then in October they're second guessing it, and it kind of throws the whole thing in disarray. And that makes sense. But the reality is you're gonna have one house. You cannot have 50 different variations of a house, right? So you have to be able to make the best decisions for that house. And this is where we work as guides in a way, right? We're able to kind of guide you through that process to make sure that you make the decisions that are going to capture the most value.
Of course.
So one thing I tell my clients is you have to be able to let go of good ideas. Like there's a lot of good ideas out there, but not all good ideas are going to make it into a house. So sometimes, like, maybe we absolutely love an idea, but it doesn't contribute to the general scheme of the house.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to let that go for another project. for your next house.
That's pretty good advice. I might use in the future. I've never built a house myself, but I've had clients who have. So, from all of your experience, what is one thing that you found that has been groundbreaking? Like you're like, oh, I'll totally use that for my next project. Something that's just an idea, or
I don't know if I've had a groundbreaking finding just like that, but I can tell you every project has a lot of small lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter how many projects we've done, we learn something new in every project. And that's also something we try to communicate to the clients. We don't know all the answers right away. A lot of the process is problem solving, like a big
You're like, I'll find the answer for you.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I don't know it, but we'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. And what is the biggest mistake have you seen your clients make?
Probably not retaining the architect through construction administration services.
Mm-hmm.
And I try not to do that anymore, because the architect has very good insight, and he knows how the contract between the builder and the owner works, and he knows what the responsibilities of each party are, and he has an understanding of the vision of the project.
Mm-hmm.
And not having the architect involved just leads to, it might seem like a cost savings measure, but it just always, without exception, leads to additional costs.
So no DIYs, right? No DIYs?
I would discourage anybody to do that, yeah.
Oh my gosh, but I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, it's I wouldn't want to build a house without an architect. Like, that is a big mistake, of course. I mean, every builder hires an architect to build, so why not do the same? Unless you are the architect yourself. Then I would beg to differ, right?
That could work, yeah.
If you could build any house without budget, describe that house for me. Like, your perfect house in your mind, what does that look like?
It would be.
And where would it be?
It would be. Yeah, I was going to tell you that. I know where it would be, in a slope in the forest, looking at the sea.
Oh my gosh!
With south-facing light and a big deck.
Oh my God!
And it would probably be small. I don't think.
What is small?
I don't know, like this room for the living room, like. So
just like a little cabin.
Yeah, kind of. I have this thing for for cabins. Yeah.
7 to 1,000 square feet, like space.
That'd be a dream. Yeah,
to
have something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But like a house for family, I don't know. But it would certainly probably not be like a huge house, like 7,000 or 8,000 square feet. Yeah. I think you can do a lot with 25 to 3,000 square feet
That's a perfect house for me.
So we do a lot of like large houses, but I try to encourage my clients to make things smaller.
Yeah.
Because your budget will go a longer way, and ultimately, every space is designed based on human dimensions, right?
Of course.
Like how big the dining room is, how big the kitchen is. Yeah. So at some point, once you start getting bigger, you're not really adding value to the client, but you're adding cost to the construction.
Okay. So that does make sense. But I mean, if you've got people who are asking for your opinion, what do you think? Should I build a 3,000 square foot house or a 4,000 square foot house? Then you having a conversation like, okay, but let's find your needs, right? Is that kind of the conversation?
Exactly, yes. Okay. Yes. Let's find out what.
Do you have 10 children?
Right.
Do they all need bedrooms?
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, that makes sense. Is there anything that you would love to share that, like, general audience would know about architecture?
I think going back to my earlier answer about how we got started, I think there's always that artistic self-expression and let's say the pursuit of creativity that is just really fulfilling. But there's all these forces working against it, right? You have the zoning, and you have the budget, and you have the client's needs, and you have.
It's like, people just leave me alone. Let me do my job. Let me build a house.
So I think the successful projects really happen when you're able somehow to align all those different interests and different forces to, instead of sink that creativity, to elevate it and see it through from beginning until the end of the project. So
That sounds like a dream, right? Like
It
everything
is.
aligning.
In a way, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that's what keeps us working for this, because it's not easy. There's just way too much stuff
Yeah.
going on. Whoever your architect is, if you're working with an architect, he's probably really passionate about your project, and he's like, he has your best interests, best interests at heart when he's doing the work, because usually we work really for the pursuit of passion and creation. So
Happy wife, happy life with the house.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, that would be in my case. Another question I just literally came up with: how many projects at a time do you work with?
I'm trying to work to 6 to 8 projects in a year.
Wow.
We're a small team, and I'm always involved in
No,
the
that's
beginning.
a lot. I'm thinking like, my gosh, that's.
So,
I'm thinking that's a lot at one time,
it's like-
for sure. Yeah.
so they get started. So I try to get like one project that I can focus on for like a couple months, and then the next one starts. Sometimes they overlap a little bit.
For sure. Yeah.
But so that way you can put the attention it deserves.
Okay.
you know,
Awesome.
to each project. Yeah. I'd love to get your opinion on the market. Like, there was a big change in interest rates like last week. Do you see it? Like, I don't know if it's relevant to this conversation, but
Yeah, it totally is relevant. Now, okay, the interest rates, they were not directly associated with the mortgage rates themselves. The adjustment. So I'm not a lender, and but I can only speak from what I've been hearing from the lenders I work with. Right? Have I seen a change in the market? A little bit, but it's not where people are. They're sitting and waiting for the doors to just flap open and run. It hasn't been that kind of change, but some are feeling the change, of course, and they're realizing like, hey, we are going to buy something because the market is going up, but steadily, right? So but I can't say it's been like, oh my gosh, we've got multiple offers on every single house.
Yeah.
No, that's not the case right now. They're selling. They're just homes are taking a little longer to sell. And that's not what we've been used to in the last few years.
Right.
So that's my 5 cents.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Andres. You've been amazing.
You're great.
This is awesome. I would love to work with you, and I hope that my friends and clients would love to work with you as well. So please feel free to reach out to Andres anytime. I'll post all the contact information below.